from Wesley, just shifting the queen to the e line, keeping an eye on e3.
Yeah, weak pawn here. That's the root of all kind of troubles here for Fabi. Can he hold that pawn while going for his own action? Queen d2, just maneuvering now. What do you think? Will we see Wesley switch pace? Will he switch things up and go for the attack eventually with g4? Or is he just going to curl up into a ball?
But I wasn't sure this was possible.
Oops, a5?
Yes.
Knight c4. Okay.
He's got a square. Black's got a terrible pawn structure now with a backward pawn c6.
Maybe rook c... no, rook c5. Knight a4, knight d5, queen moves away. Okay.
It gets sharp. Rook c5 you want before the black knight comes in and locks up that c-file.
Finally e4 in the game.
This is a sacrifice. What are his
wanted
tactics
to go
there?
a5.
Oh wow, and look at this, a double question mark move. A blunder there from Wesley So. He must have missed this one.
Because
a5.
knight c4 is not possible anymore. He has to go back and then d5 will be, I guess. And
and he was banking on this move, e3, but the white queen is simply going to step away no matter where she goes. She has to keep an eye on this white knight. There we go. She retreats to e1. d5 is going to be a hammer blow next move due to the pin, as you mentioned on the c-file. We saw that double question mark move. Huge blunder.
And the problem is for black that after knight d7, d5, it's not only the c6 pawn which is under attack, but the e3 is going to be falling off as well, because there's no good place for the rook to move away.
Yeah, black's position is collapsing. It's just like that Gukesh game. It's just pass pawns. Just throw your pawns forward, and the opponent is struggling to deal with them.
But Gukesh is a pass pawn guy. I mean, he has so many pass pawns all the time.
But it just...
Fabi's learning.
It does highlight the cruelness of chess, though, because I think Wesley played a great game, but then he made one terrible blunder, and that's it. His position fell apart.
Well, that's how it can turn out to be, unfortunately.
Great spot from Fabi there, though, to play e4 to tempt Wesley into grabbing a pawn.
Wow.
Wow. Piece sacrifice from Wesley, so deciding that retreating, allowing white forward was not an option. And now the material count is knight for 2 pawns. Black has a strong e3 pawn, but it won't survive too long.
You feel like even moves like d5 will put the boot in.
That's a very Fabi type of move. He'll calculate, simplify the equation, trade off more pieces, trade off more pawns. A passive player like me would be inclined to just retreat, hold the d4 pawn and try to round up black's pass pawn on e3. I think at this point several strong moves for white.
Yeah, but still the technique is very important, how you convert an advantage when you have.
I like your idea best, actually. You know, it's safer, and if 5 minutes there's still some trouble left. Oh no, he goes for my move. Oh. And
looks good though.
Knight takes pawn. And the problem for black is that they can't slide over the rook to c6 because the knight will come to e7 and give a deadly check.
Yeah, rook c6, knight e7 is not one to blunder. But how to save this pawn, it doesn't look possible.
After queen c5, white can take on e3, and after f5, the king just moves out to h1.
Yeah.
But maybe not.
Maybe f1 the white king will hide on, just to make sure everything is protected.
Yes, everything is protected.
Yeah. Now running with the b pawn, but it doesn't look quick enough. That black b pawn is not going to run too much further. He's so close now. If he wins this game, Fabi, then Hikaru Nakamura must not lose, otherwise he will win the tournament. Okay, knight takes e3. This line you're mentioning, Judah, on point here, but white's king simply steps out of the pin.
As you pointed out, let's protect everything.
Curl up into a ball, all of white's pieces, nicely coordinated. Now the white knight is free to move. Do you rush with that? Do you move the white queen?
At the same time, if you move away with your knight, then queen c4 or queen b5, tying you up a little bit.
Yeah. This is a nasty pin. Still a bit annoying. White's knight now not ideally placed.
Yeah, at the same time you can release the tension with knight b2, queen d2 and queen d3. And then everything on exchange mode.
Yeah, I'm just wondering where the black queen should pin from. Yeah, this pawn will get to b3, but no further. White's knight will blockade. And there we go, he does pin. I think you're right, Judith, just some order. Knight b2, queen d2, and white's still in control. But the evaluation bar is not 100% convinced, despite white's extra knight here. Do you think there are any swindling chances?
Well, there is some idea to play maybe after b3, move away with the rook to c6 and try to get into c2.
There's always hope as long as the clocks are ticking. Fabi slightly nervous there, but he does develop his queen. Now the white knight is coming.
King e1 on the board. Threatening rook takes rook.
And a mistake apparently there. Why could that be a mistake? Wow, what a move from Wesley. So dropping back, threatening checkmate in one move. He threatens to come into g1, but a red cross shows a missed opportunity. Maybe there was even stronger there. Maybe there was a way to equalize the game.
Isn't rook takes rook still very much a possibility?
It needs to be calculated. Rook takes rook leads potentially to simplifications. I think that's the move he wants to play, Fabi.
And Fabi just under 3.5 minutes, whereas Wesley has less than 2 minutes on the clock. And remember, the players are not getting any increment until they've passed move 40. And even then, the increment is only 1 second.
Yeah, we're at move 40 now, so they will be gaining 1 second per move. First, Fabi's calculating whether he can take this rook without allowing any nasty checks from behind. Queen to g1 check, for example. If he thinks that's safe, which it might well be, the white king can start running. Then he will go for it.
I think he's not going rook e6. He has to go back.
King back to f1. Yep, sometimes you got to
And
go
rook
back.
e3, for example, that cannot be played because that would be a blunder. And he goes rook e6.
He's a calculating machine. Fabi, he spent a long time there trying to work out whether this was viable, and it turns out it is. If black checks.
Of course, because I forgot that we are not exchanging the queens. Knight f2. Of course, knight f2, and that's whole of a different story. Then, of course, queen check, or the queen is very badly placed on g2.
Black queen almost trapped. It takes 2 or 3 moves to come back to
Queen d7 maybe is the best.
Black's pawn's draft.
The pawn on b3's life is charmed. The question is, do you hold on to the h2 pawn? My vibe is yes. Put it on h3 and let that knight be the supreme defender.
Yeah, you can tell Wesley's slightly nervous, slightly fidgety here. His clock is ticking down. He's at 1.5 minutes now. Yeah, I think Fabi's going to move his queen. h3 also sophisticated, but feels like a finesse too far. You can give some checks. You can step forward. Go pawn hunting for white. Okay, Fabi down to 2 minutes. Surely he's going to win this one now, as long as he keeps one pawn alive.
Look at that.
h3
on the
He
board.
He keeps 2 pawns alive. Everything protected.
I like the fact that he's making my moves.
The black queen trying to come out now, but Fabi, with a bunch of checks, will be able to start grabbing pawns.
Because black cannot go all the way to f6 defending the e6 pawn, because now it's not pinned, the f2 knight, so knight e4 will be on the board. This is the big issue for black.
So he's going to zigzag over, and he can start maybe even by grabbing this b3 pawn.
I think he's just grabbing the e6 and after b2, queen f6, and grabs the other one.
But he can actually go queen b8 and bank everything on the b3 pawn.
But then queen f6, queen g6, queen h6, queen g5. So
Got it right.
Everything is
board.
going to be collected.
And it's really accurate, the move order here. As you say, Judith, all these pawns are going to drop off with check. Here we go. First, the h6 pawn will drop with a check. Next, the g5 pawn will most likely drop with a check as well.
Well, he has to go king f7, I believe, but...
The good news for white is you have a safety net here. The white knight can always come across and block this black b pawn. Should be enough now. The extra material, white will have pass pawns of his own to start pushing. Black's king being chased away.
And he can't step forward. Oh, it's bad news for Wesley on every level.
Yeah, his time is getting low.
I think we might not even fight on too much longer here, Wesley, so he knows this is hopeless, especially against someone so accurate, someone so precise like Fabiano.
But they don't give up so easily.
I think he'll give up now. Either black will have to trade queens or give up the b3 pawn.
Oof, he's running, he's got to run forward, but Fabiano delivering all of the correct checks.
Queen e6 check?
Queen e6, yeah, like you say, Ivanka, nowhere to keep the queens on.
c4.
Here it comes.
He wants the g5 pawn first. He wants everything. Greedy Fabiano. Efficient though. Another black pawn drops with a check, and now the black king being chased in circles. The white knight's going to join the action very shortly. First another check.
What a good technique.
There we go. Handshake. Fabiano takes the win.
Well done.
An important 1.5 points for Fabiano Caruana, and Wesley so walks away with 1 point. But what an impressive Armageddon game from Fabi. Incredible stuff, the way that he set up that trick, and then his technique at the end was just pristine.
Yeah, that was a very nice way of doing it. But it also means that he understands the position very well. He knew that what kind of nuances existing in this kind of position, because actually e4 having the pin on the c file and playing the e5 is not so original. It is part of this type of positions, right? So it's important that you can his play. Fabiano knows so well all the ins and outs of the middle game of the positions what he's playing.
Yep.